What if I told you the truck sitting in your driveway, the one you paid off a decade ago, has a built-in expiration date? And I'm not talking about rust. I am talking about a kill order dictated by a server in Detroit. You think you own that piece of machinery. You hold the title. But as of 2026, the dealership cartel has quietly stopped producing the specific proprietary microchips and sensors required to make your rig fire up. They are intentionally starving out the parts supply for older vehicles. Why? Because a paid-off running truck is their worst enemy. They want you walking onto the showroom floor, signing your life away on a $90,000 money pit that requires a monthly subscription just to use the heated seats. They expect you to just give up when that 50-cent module fries and the parts counter guy tells you it's discontinued. But they drastically underestimated the guys actually turning the wrenches. We aren't just going to scrap perfectly good trucks. We are bypassing the system entirely. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how real mechanics are, completely severing the digital umbilical cord. We are going to break down the aftermarket rebellion into 3 distinct paths. We will look at the best strategy for pure reliability, the absolute best method for the price, and finally, the ultimate choice for automotive survival. Let's get your hands dirty. If you own a truck from the late 90s or early 2000s, you have what we call a golden era rig. Good steel, solid frames. But here is the trap: they rely on factory engine control modules. And when that crusty ECM bolted to your firewall finally gives up the ghost, you are dead in the water. The factory won't sell you a new one. So, let's talk about the first category, best for reliability. When the factory brain dies, smart mechanics execute a complete brain transplant. We are talking about ripping out the entire factory computer and going with a standalone system. Brands like Holley, Haltech, or Fueltech. You yank that 20-year-old brittle wiring harness out of the engine bay. You pull the dead ECM, and you drop in a self-tuning standalone unit. This right here. This is the ultimate level of independence. A standalone system does not have a cellular modem. It does not ping a corporate server to report your fuel trims or how many miles you drove this week. You control the spark. You control the fuel. If a sensor goes bad out on the highway, you don't need a proprietary dealership scanner. You plug your own laptop in, you read the data yourself, and you walk into any parts store and buy a universal replacement. Your daily driver becomes completely immune to factory obsolescence. But I have to shoot straight with you. There is a catch. The dealerships hope you don't know about the transmission trap. If you rip out the factory computer, your electronic automatic transmission, like a GM 4L60E or a Ford 4R70W, suddenly loses its mind. Without the factory computer telling it what to do, it defaults to maximum line pressure. It locks itself in third gear. Welcome to limp mode. So, what's the blue-collar fix? You have 2 choices. You wire in a separate, standalone transmission controller, or you do it the right way. You swap in a heavy-duty manual transmission with a physical heavy-leg clutch pedal. You put a stick in the floor, and you never rely on a microchip to shift gears again. That makes your driveline absolutely bulletproof. Now, standalone systems are incredible, but they require a serious budget. What if you just want to keep your workhorse running without spending $2,000? That brings us to category number 2, best for price. This is where we talk about the hardware store bypass. You see, the rebellion against digital slavery goes way past the engine. It's inside the cabin too. Automakers are aggressively discontinuing physical ignition lock cylinders. They want to force everyone into hackable, push-button smart fobs that can be cloned by a thief with an iPad in 3 minutes. You might think, well, I'll just rip the ignition out and wire up a toggle switch. Hold on. If you try to hotwire a 1999 Silverado or an old F-150 with a basic switch, that engine will crank, it will fire, and it will die exactly 2 seconds later. Why? Because of factory immobilizers. GM VATs, Ford PATs. The truck's security computer is actively looking for a specific electrical resistance from a tiny pellet embedded in your factory key. If it doesn't see that exact ohm rating, it immediately shuts off the fuel injectors. It assumes the truck is being stolen. So, how do we beat a system designed to lock us out? We use basic electrical logic. Mechanics are pulling the steering column cover off, tracing the ignition wires, and soldering in a 10-cent resistor from an electronics kit. You just match the resistor to the ohm value of your old key. That's it. You spoof the security module permanently. Once that's done, you can wire up heavy-duty, marine-grade toggle switches and a push-button start directly to the dash. You just replaced a discontinued proprietary locking cylinder with a $5 hardware store switch and a dime's worth of copper. And you apply this exact same ruthless logic to your climate controls. The proprietary HVAC modules in these older rigs are failing left and right. The plastic gears inside the blend door actuators are stripping out. A used module on eBay might run you $400, and it's a gamble if it even works. Look, an air conditioning blower motor is just a dumb electric fan. It operates on basic 1-2 volt direct current. That is it. If the fancy digital climate board dies, you bypass the whole mess. You grab a universal rheostat dial, you wire it directly to the blower motor resistor, and you mount it under the dash. It won't look like a luxury interior, but it will blow freezing cold air. It costs you maybe $20 in wire, and I promise you, it will never, ever require a software update. But what happens when things are too far gone? What happens when the fuel injection is fried, the wiring harness is completely rotted out, and the electrical gremlins have taken over the entire chassis? That brings us to category 3, the ultimate choice for survival. We call this the nuclear option. When the modern tech fails, you completely strip it out and step backward in time. You throw a carburetor and a mechanical distributor at it, and if the engine block is too modern for that, you gut the whole engine bay and drop in a pre-1986 small block Chevy V8. This is the final boss of the right to repair movement. Now, any guy who has turned a wrench knows you cannot just drop an analog distributor into an LS or a Vortec engine block. The modern blocks don't have a hole in the back for a distributor gear. They use individual coil packs. So, to make a carburetor work on a modern LS, you have to buy an aftermarket ignition controller box to handle the spark while the carb handles the fuel. But the true purists, the guys building rigs for the end of the world, they don't even want that ignition box. They rip the LS out entirely and drop in an old-school carbureted 350. When you do this, you erase the need for a computer completely. Think about the sheer reliability of it. A carburetor doesn't care about software. It operates on pure, uninterrupted fluid dynamics and engine vacuum. It pulls fuel into the combustion chamber based strictly on the physical velocity of the air moving through the venturis. There is no mass airflow sensor to fail. There is no electronic throttle body to randomly throw you into limp mode on the side of the interstate. There is no idle air control valve getting gunked up and leaving you stranded. If a gasket blows on a carburetor while you are 100 miles deep in the woods, you can literally trace a new gasket out of a cardboard box, cut it out with your pocket knife, bolt the bowl back on, and drive yourself home. Try doing that with a silicon microchip. You can't. The automotive industry thinks they have us completely cornered. They assume that by shutting off the parts tap for the vehicles we actually want to drive, we will eventually wave the white flag. They think we'll march into the dealership, hand over our hard-earned cash, and accept our new reality as digital renters rather than physical owners. They drastically underestimated American ingenuity. We are not just consumers to be milked for subscription fees. We are mechanics. We are fabricators. We are problem solvers. If the dealership refuses to sell us a part, the aftermarket will build a better one. If the factory computer dies, we will rip it out and wire in our own. And if the electronics fail completely, we will tear the entire harness out with our bare hands and go back to mechanical fuel and spark. The aftermarket is the final line of defense against the digital cage. The tools and the parts absolutely exist to keep your analog truck running, pulling, and hauling for the next 50 years, assuming you have the grit to learn how to wire them. Now, before I let you go, I want to give you a pro tip that the industry absolutely does not want you thinking about. If you are planning to build a forever truck, do not wait to buy your mechanical linkage parts. Right now, salvage yards are crushing older manual transmission donor trucks at an alarming rate. Specifically, you need to be hunting down the clutch pedals, the analog bell housings, and the physical Z-bar linkages for your specific chassis right now. In a few years, finding a physical clutch pedal assembly for a 2002 Silverado is going to be harder than finding gold. Hoard the physical connection parts now, because they are not making any more of them. So, I want to hear from you. What is the most extreme bypass, hack, or modification you have pulled off to keep an older piece of iron on the road? Did you drop a 4-barrel carb onto a modern block? Did you wire up your own ignition system from scratch? Sound off in the comments below, because your ingenuity is literally writing the survival guide for the rest of us. If you refuse to be starved out by the modern auto industry, hit that subscribe button to join the resistance. Keep turning your own wrenches, support the independent aftermarket, and I'll see you in the next one.